We doing this? So it's April 2nd, Nicholas. It's not April 1st, so you don't have to worry about any pranks getting pulled on you like I did.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, man? You brought it on yourself. That kid's just following your footsteps.
Well, I tell you, it's been a tradition in our house now since, oh, God knows how long now, but Violet loves America's Funniest Home Videos. And we've been watching every Sunday night, for months now, because she used to just watch it on Facebook, watch clips on Facebook, the videos with Megan, and now it's like, well, I think it's still on TV. So I've turned a tradition into another tradition, and that means me getting punked on April Fools, and she legitimately sent me into an anxiety attack because the prank she pulled. I thought my bathroom was leaking water, and I was going to be at least $1,000 in the hole before my day even started. But it was not. She's good. She's funny. I'm dumb. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, Geeks Worldwide Radio and the Dork Shared Universe proudly presents to you the world-acclaimed, the widely celebrated, greatest podcasting team in the world. He's a comic book writer, Nick Friar. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. And together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby.
Wow. Look at that. But you didn't ask how I'm doing, so I'm insulted.
But I don't really care.
Well, yeah, April Fools.
It's a second, Nicholas.
But we got a big one planned today.
We
got to do a mainline episode last time, and we're getting back to the Solicit this time around because obviously April has begun, as you have unfortunately learned, Joseph. But yes, there's quite a few impressive books that are coming out, including a book that we got an early look at. We're going to save that for when we get into the Solicit, but we'll tell you right now that it's Uncanny Valley by Tony Fleece, because we got that from him after our conversation with him about Feral, which we've already gotten a look at the second and third issue of that, which is an Image title, but Uncanny Valley is a Boom title. So excited to dig into that. You did get a chance to read it, right, Joe?
I did, and I'll tell you something. The praise for this book has been outstanding. Seeing it everywhere. People, taking to Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, right, and posting their videos about it. And I gotta say, every single person that mentions Tony Fleece's name gets it wrong.
Ooh, okay.
We're the only ones that get it right, baby.
Yep. Well, we're gonna blast this everywhere when we get to our early look on that. But so everyone will know that we're saying it right. But they'll probably assume that we're saying it wrong. But
no, they'd be idiots.
If you know, you know. That's why you got to listen to us and make sure you subscribe to us on our audio channels, because that's where we learned how to properly pronounce Tony Fleece's last name. You can only find our Fireside chats on our audio channels. Of course, that's the standard podcasting platforms: Apple, Spotify, Geeks Worldwide Radio, Amazon, and Pocket Cast. All the major platforms, you can find us there. If you listen to podcasts but you can't find us there, and you somehow found us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, or YouTube, or our Instagram handle, and you can't find us on one of your podcasting platforms, just shoot us a quick DM. We'll make sure that we get over there, but I'm pretty sure we're covered because there's other ones I'm not mentioning. But the other thing is, too, you get the Tony Fleece chat, but we've had plenty of others on top of Tony just to start the year off. And I'll tell you right now, Joe and I do not have one planned for next week or the week after that. But that doesn't mean between now and then that can't change, because if we hear from somebody that we want to talk to, or get our hands on a book that we want to get to know the creator a little bit more, we're going to be talking to them. We're going to make some time to chat with them. So make sure you subscribe to our audio channel as much as you may like watching us, because that's the only place you're going to be able to listen to those conversations with creators across the industry.
And definitely make sure you follow us on YouTube, because in a couple of weeks, Nick and I will be a couple of traveling Wilburys. We'll be in Chicago at C2E2, where there will be creators aplenty for us to harass and badger and beg and plead for content. So make sure you follow us on the YouTube.
Did you say Wilburys? Were you trying to be like the traveling Wilburys, like the George Harrison group? Is that what you were going for?
It's not the Wilburys, it's the traveling Wilburys. And yes, that's exactly what I was going for.
Is it the traveling Wilburys? Wow.
Did you think it was Wildeberries? like a
I mean,
wildebeest.
yeah.
They're
I'm just
blueberries.
I haven't thought about that in a
Roy
long ass
Orbison,
time.
George Harrison,
Roy Orbison was in that with George Harrison. I didn't know that. I just
yeah,
knew.
Bob Dylan.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I think my dad probably told me that, but I just only remember George Harrison part of all that. So, well, once again, proving early on I'm the dumbass here. But give it time. We got an hour or so to do this, and Joe may redeem himself. But yes, we will be going to C2E2. Very excited because we have creators that we know that are going to be there, that we've had on the show before, and then creators who we haven't had a chance to connect with yet. And we'll probably annoy the shit out of them.
Looking at you, Tynan.
Yep. Yeah.
Coming for you.
I am expecting that to. I'm expecting to meet him, say hello, and then just back away a little bit and let you do your thing.
You're gonna have to take the lead because I might be. You know.
You'll also be getting some food content, I'm sure, because we're going to be digging into
Oh
some
baby.
deep dish pizza. Yes.
And some Italian beefs.
Yes.
I am going to throat so much Italian beef.
Yeah, I'm excited. It is going to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
It is. Yeah, that sounded like normal for me. But yes, but we're excited to get to that. But that is later on in the month. That is the week after the final new comic book day of April, and we'll get to what's coming out that week a little bit later. But before we do anything Solicit or what's new this week, we got to get to catching up, Joe. And there is one title in particular that we want to talk about. But why don't you lay on me first what you've been catching up on?
I know there's more books that I just forgot to jot down because I did catch up on a couple
Hate when
from
that happens.
last week
Yep.
but Duke issue 4, excellent, right? And talking about the whole the Energon, however you want to pronounce it, universe that's going on over there with Transformers and GI Joe. Antarctica issue 9, because as you'll hear in a few moments, Antarctica issue 10 is out this week, I believe, and that is wrapped up in second art. Excellent. Gotta talk about the show at some point. Definitely will. And X-Men 32, because again, X-Men 33 comes out this week, and I thought I was all caught up. I was an issue behind, like an idiot.
Hate when that happens.
But yeah, those are some of the big ones I caught up on.
Nice. And then I caught up on the Zorro Man of the Dead issue 3, which continues to be an outstanding series. That's from Massive Publishing. Yeah, that Panosian cover is pretty fucking nice, man.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance. Funny thing is, I didn't get a chance to read it yet, and so this is a variant because it's the black and white, and it's the only copy they had left. So
Oh,
I had to shell out like 10 shekels
well,
for that bad boy. But it's okay. I like getting the 1 in 10, sort of the ratioed variants, as long as they're not ridiculously priced.
yeah, same. I the only time I know that I
I'll
went
go up to like 10, $12 max. There was a couple that I liked, but they were like $20. I go, no.
I've done I do 10 here and there. I had to do it for Feral issue 1, which I wasn't upset about that, but the one I think I did the most for that I know of right now is a $25 Capullo, but it was for the first issue of Vanish.
Mm.
So like that was one where I was like I saw that cover when everything was going on, and you know how I was on Vanish like from the first day that I saw the design of the character. But yeah, so we got Zorro, Man of the Dead issue 3, Star Wars Visions, The Ronin and the Droid issue 1. The art was great. The story was like, okay. It didn't like blow me away, but like the art was awesome. And then a book that we both didn't get review copies for, but have been on top of, talked about quite a bit. We actually talked to the writer of this series multiple times, of course, but specifically when this series began, Joe, and I'm talking about Vault Comics, The Nasty issue 8. The series has come to an end. What'd you think about how John Lee's wrapped it up?
Oh, I loved it. It was fantastic. This was when we talked to him, this was a series that he was very passionate about and proud of, as he should be. And it was, and he talked about, and we've talked about before. It's a different horror story that he typically writes. So it was a lot more levity. This was more of a coming of age story.
Yeah.
And I just love how it wrapped up. I thought there was a lot of closure there. There was still some good suspenseful moments, which was the sort of the hallmark, especially of the last several issues, but of the story in general. I pointed out, I was flipped as I was reading it, I came across a panel and I go, "That's John Lee's and Adam Cahoon," so they were drawn in as sort of
Huh.
as fans of the horror movie that our young protagonists had created in the book, and I thought it was pretty funny. But I enjoyed it very, very much. I thought it was a very fitting ending.
Yeah, it was, and it was. There were a couple different ways that they could have gone with it, but I really liked that the direction that they chose. I thought it made the most sense, and yeah, it's like it was a great combination of like coming of age, but still like horror and kind of tapping into like a nostalgia element with all of it in the end. So I really enjoyed it. Really fun series. So 8 issues. I don't know if that came out as a volume one and then it's going to be a volume two. Would make sense for it to be all in one collection, but something to definitely check out if you did not when it was first going on.
Yeah, and
All
I
right.
was just thinking about too. It gave me the feel of like those '80s sort of like like an '80s movie. So,
Yes. Yeah, definitely gave that vibe. All right, let's get to what's new this week, which is the start of our April solicit. So Joe, what do we got from Marvel to start off the month of April?
all right. So the week of April 3rd, 2024, the year of our Lord, as I just mentioned, X-Men issue 33, Venom issue 32, The Immortal Thor issue 9, The Avengers issue 12, Star Wars issue 45, the Pedro issue, Doctor Strange issue 14, Captain America issue 8, Sensational She-Hulk issue 7, Alien Black, White, and Blood issue 3, Power Pack Into the Storm, issue 4. And before we get to a book that you want to touch on real quick, Nicholas, we have a couple of number ones this week from Marvel. We have Deadpool, issue 1, written by Cody Ziegler with art by Rogue Antonio. And we have Spider-Man, Shadow of the Green Goblin, issue 1, written by J.D. Mateus with art by, now, I don't know if this was a typo by, League of Comic Geeks, but it was like choppy in the way it was like Michael Saint Maria, but like the Saint and the Maria weren't on the same line. I don't know what the heck was going on. So if I butchered your name, Michael, I apologize.
Okay.
But Vengeance of the Moon Knight issue 4, Nicholas, take us to it.
Yeah, so this is of course is Jed McKay and Alessandro Capuccio. Really been enjoying this series, and this was one that I was late to the game on, but once I saw the character design by Capuccio, I was like, I need to get in on this, and I can't say it enough. Like the look of this imposter Moon Knight, whoever's taken on the mantle of Moon Knight has such an awesome look, and I know we're all itching to find out who is under the mantle. So I'm sure we're going to be getting answers to that at some point in the course of all this. Obviously, I don't want to get into any spoilers or anything like that for issue 4. But what has been going on throughout this series has been like we've been spending a lot throughout the original Moon Knight run that McKay and Alessandro Capuccio did together. We saw Mark spending a lot of time with his therapist, mainly as Mr. Knight and all of it. But we saw Mark kind of pop up without the mask occasionally too. But now she's kind of with Mark supposedly gone in all of this. She's kind of become like the team therapist for the Midnight Mission. So we're talking about Tigra, Soldier. I'm blanking on the vampire girl's name, but then we also have Hunter's Moon, who's been like probably the biggest addition to McKay's run. Like Tigra's obviously been around for a long time. Soldier and again the vampire that are added to the mix. They're interesting characters, but Hunter's Moon is like this new hero type or like a Moon Knight adjacent type character because he's also a Fist of Khonshu. In this issue, we get a real focus on him, and I love how they were able to dig into him because he is very much a character who is like tries to be all business and not so much emotion, but he's gone through some traumatic stuff ever since he's met Moon Knight. I mean, even just becoming a Fist of Khonshu is a traumatic thing in and of itself. But I love his look, I love his vibe, and I think he has a ton of potential for the future, depending on what's going on with the future of Moon Knight as in the course of this in the wake of Vengeance of the Moon Knight.
Very nice. Very nice.
And also, I did read the first issue of this new Deadpool story. It was okay. It didn't like knock my socks off. I was like, oh, okay. Like I probably won't. I'm glad I read the review copy. Maybe I'll read the second one, but I wasn't like moved
Mm.
necessarily. But then I will say though, there is a thing in there for manga fans that will be very, very much appreciated. It's from a manga story that I have read and talked about on this show. I won't. I don't want to spoil it, but it's not like a spoiler. But I want people to be able to experience it.
Is it
But
the dog with the chainsaw for a nose?
I am not going to tell you. I'll tell you afterwards. But it was very. It was like I definitely got a little chuckle out of it when it happened, and it was like not. It was like used very well in the course of the story. Um, Moving over to DC, we got Batman issue 146, which you are on top of. Poison Ivy issue 21, which I'm a little behind on that right now. I feel like I say that every time we convene. Birds of Prey issue 8, Shazam issue 10, Blue Beetle issue 8, Kneel Before Zod issue 7, Suicide Squad Kill Arkham Asylum issue 3, Superman 78, The Metal Curtain issue 6, Batman Scooby Doo Mysteries issue 4, and Scooby Doo Where Are You issue 127. A big thing that I'm noticing in this month, Joe, I'm not seeing any. I didn't check the second week because I know you got that all jotted down, but I don't think there are any first issues from DC this week. Month,
No,
excuse me, this
no.
month.
And I would say in general, it feels like a new issue light month.
Yes, that's a fair point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
I
totally
was
agree.
surprised and kind of thankful that there wasn't a bunch of number ones from DC because I was up late last night, doing these notes because I was on another podcast that some people may have heard of called Change My Mind,
Oh wow.
and we did an X-Men draft.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. I heard you
and
drafted a shitty team. Actually,
no,
I
I
do.
killed it. I killed it, but you drafted a D-level squad. It was
I
just
I
pure
I
caca.
you would
Pure
watch
caca
that
poo-poo.
show so fast. I know you
Psh,
would. Only
psh.
if it was all released at once, though. Not if it was released
I would
weekly.
wait. I would wait to binge it, watch the first
Yeah,
episode. Then, fuck this, I'm out.
that's of course. Yeah, had me at first. Damn it! All right, what do we got from Image this week?
Image, baby. This was a darn good week for Image. They get a couple number ones we'll talk about in a moment. We have Void Arrivals issue 8, Gunslinger Spawn issue 30, the Weird Bird book, The Sacrificers issue 7, the One Hand issue 3. Excellent. I'm not talking about it only because it is just so fucking good that I really, when I go to discuss this on the program, I really want you to not know any more than what I've already told you.
Sure.
Right. So just know that it is fucking excellent. Rom, if you're listening, excellent. Love Everlasting, issue 14. Crave, issue 5. Holy smokes, we got one issue to go. So this book, like the first 4 issues, very twisted, very naughty. You could see the direction it was going in. Holy shit, was this issue fucking cuckoo bananas. It was fucking nuts, Nicholas. Like, holy cow. Again, I can't wait to talk about this book on the show because this is really unlike anything I've read. But
Nice.
also like I feel like this would be an AWA book,
Ah,
right? It's just got that fucking twisted grit to it. Kaya issue 17, Deep Cuts issue 6. Also, as I mentioned earlier, Antarctica issue 10. We've got a couple number ones here. I'll talk about a book first before we dive into these because there's one of each that we want to talk about that's sort of part of the same universe, if you will.
mm-hmm.
So the book I want to talk about is The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid.
You did it again.
The Last Mermaid, issue 2, written and drawn by Derek Kirk Kim. And man, I gotta tell you, so this is a beautifully weird book, right? It's weird in the sense that one, it's as I said when I talked about the first issue, right? Like the title is not a title that I would have normally gravitated to, grabbed. But I talked about how it's one of those books where as soon as you open up and you look at it, the art is gorgeous, and that in and of itself is enough to just really draw you in and pull you in. And then I read it, and the first issue was fucking excellent, right? Just not a lot of words, not a lot of narration. The art really does drive most of the story here, and it ends with this wonderfully suspenseful sort of cliffhanger that again, right, makes you want to read the second issue. So now I'm reading the second issue, and bang, you pick up right where it leaves off. You get that suspense, and then Nicholas, when things are going all too well, some shit's gonna happen, right? And so I was having an interaction with Derek Kirk Kim Bragg on Twitter, about the book, and one of the characters is named Lottie, and it's this cute little axolotl, and Violet loves axolotls. I can't tell you how many squishmallows and stuffed animals she has that are axolotls. And so I was telling him that, and he said, "Oh, that's adorable," but you may only want to show her the cover of the next book because things get a little dark. Oh, Derek, my man, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to poor Lottie? But like, no, this is such an excellent book, and I will rave and rave and rave about the art. The other weird thing about this is it's not in your typical comic
Oh
book,
yeah, that's right. I
right?
saw that. Yeah.
And it's not even like prestige format either. Like, I've got that thing with Black Label
Yep.
and Distillery, right? This is like almost like a square. And I like that because I think it allows the panels to breathe a little bit on the page. Something about just being a little bit wider gives it a little bit more cinematic feel.
Interesting.
So The Last Mermaid issue 2, right? If you're listening to this, or you're watching this, you go see if you can, get the first issue. Definitely pick up the second issue. See if the comic book store doesn't have it. See if they can order it for you. Again, this is one I'm going to talk about too. Absolutely excellent.
I really this is like one of those things. It's like one of those titles where it's like this is why we do this show, because
Yeah.
we're fortunate enough to get all the review copies that we do. Check out first issues, and then what things that I sometimes I gloss over it, even though it's the first issue, and maybe I'm light on my list in terms of like TLDR books or new titles that I want to check out. Like you still go and do it, and and sometimes we do the inverse as well. So like now this is a title that I wouldn't have checked out, just like you said, because of the title, and you've gone and proven that I missed out. And then when you talk about it on the show, I will check it out afterwards.
Well, we talk about it all the time. Don't judge a book by its cover, but we do it all the goddamn time. But again, you're right. That's why we do this show, and that's the nice thing about just being able to get to review copies, because it does give us that chance to kind of look and read at almost everything, right? That comes out on a weekly basis, and so I'm glad because sometimes there's number ones, and I'm just like, no, it doesn't, and I won't, and we let it go, and maybe you pick it and call dibs, or we both miss it in general. But this one I'm glad I did, just because again, the art and the storytelling is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's funny too. Like you say, don't judge a book by its cover. I think when you like, I sometimes that's like you should, because like it looks good. Like if it looks great, then yeah, like judge it by its cover and then give it a look. I'm sure there are plenty of like creators who would say do it, but what this is an example of like don't do that. Or don't judge it by its title, because I didn't like.
Oh God, I can't tell you how many times I've skipped on a book because the title's fucking dumb.
Yeah, I mean, we all know if it's too long, forget about it.
Oh, jeez, Louise, tighten it up, will you?
Yeah, but I also kind of understand.
Not The Last Mermaid. That's a good title, but like.
I will say
something alpha beta 0.
The beta alpha stuff is a lot, but I will say /Kill Your Idols issue 1 by Tim Seeley and Stefano Caselli. That one's totally fine, because we get it. Like / is the title, and that's one that's been around for a long time. But we have other number ones out from Image this week on top of that, part of that shared universe that you were talking about, Joe, all kind of from this Ghost Machine universe. So these are all Jeff Johns titles. These specific ones that are out this week. Not all of the stories in the universe are written by Jeff Johns. But we got Geiger issue 1. The artist on that is Gary Frank. Now this is issue 1 for this year, or for this like part of this universe where Geiger's been around for a bit, and you've read all of Geiger up to this point, right?
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. And so this is, I think, just like essentially the next arc, right?
Mhm.
But like when Jeff Johns first wrote Geiger, that was, I think, 2 years ago now at this point. This
Been a bit.
universe didn't exist. So now we got Geiger #1, where it's taking, the main character, from that story, and it's almost just I would almost think of it as a new arc, but it's being titled #1 so it can fit nicely, I think, with the rest of the Ghost Machine books that are dropping.
Yeah, and so there's two other ones, one that we both read, but one that I also called dibs on. And I've been on this one since I saw the initial character design, and that's Rook Exodus. Again, written by Jeff Johns. The art is by Jason Fabok, and that's, I mean, for me, that's just one of the biggest things. Is like Fabok is just such an outstanding artist. He was also with Johns on the Three Jokers story, and I just whenever I see his work, I gotta check it out because he has the right combination of like finish, of like flash, of gritty. Like he's got everything going on in a way that you don't see from many artists, and that's not a knock. Like everybody's got their style, but his is just like immensely impressive with like a lean towards badassness. So I love Fabok style. And also like from that you get that right away when you see this art style. You see the character designs of these warden characters, which our main character Rook is one of them. But then you also from a writing standpoint, there's a lot of narration in this, but at the same time it very much fits for what's going on. It helps you get a little insight into quite a bit of insight into the mind of Rook. You also get insight into what the hell's going on this planet that he's on, because this is basically like an Earth, like plan, like post, like apocalypse or post the world failing, kind of gone wrong. And we're seeing what's going on there, like how things are deteriorating. It's kind of just at the jump of like, all right, this was the backup plan for Earth, but now this kind of is not really working. So I really enjoyed it. In the concept of the wardens too, like they have they have these masks. So Rook has like a bird type mask. It seems like, and this is actually, I did you a favor by calling dibs on this one. He's got like a bird type mask, and he's got a connection to crows that we see at least in this first issue. I don't know if we'll see other birds, but either way, him, and then we see like a guy with a pig mask, so he has a connection to boars. They're able to like control these animals in a way to their benefit. So it's been really cool to see so far, but we're also seeing the animals can get a little unstable. But by and large, like a really strong start to this story, and I couldn't be more excited going into the second issue. But that is not the last Ghost Machine title that we had come out this week. You got one as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to call dibs on this just yet, but I'm definitely intrigued enough to keep reading, and that's Redcoat issue 1. Again, this is written by Jeff Johns, but with art by Brian Hitch. And so right off the bat, I get some Philadelphia vibes, and that's mostly because we're in the Civil War era. We're talking about, George Washington, the Redcoats, Revolutionary War. Sorry, not Civil War.
Sorry, I had to.
No. Thank you. It was, see, the dumbass came out.
There we go. Yep. Okay.
Bingo. We got bingo. The Revolutionary War. Jesus Christ, Joseph. And
Wow. Anyways, 3, 2.
But I don't know if you're familiar. It's probably about a decade ago now. There was like this sort of like this weird era where we were getting like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. We're getting Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, right? Like these to take, taking literary fiction, or historical fiction, I should say, to a whole new level. Right. And so it's like taking classic stories that we know, or classic characters that we know, and then just coming up with this sort of wild fictionalized story, sort of twisting, historical events. And that's what we get here in Redcoat. Right. So I got a lot of that, like some, like, we're not dealing with zombies, but we are definitely dealing with some supernatural things in here. And you've got, some historical figures like, or Paul Revere. The story kicks off, and there's some others I won't get into detail. But we get the main the thing that sort of kept me going in this was the main character. I believe his name was Simon Paul, and he's a real piece of shit. Red coat, slick back hair. But something happens to him, and so we get to see this character, at different stages of his life, and just what of a weaselly kind of piece of shit he is, and I kind of like that. Like I like that character. There was something about the way Jeff was writing him. That I was like, oh, I want to know a little more. I kind of want to know where this is going to go. So there was enough there to sort of keep me entertained and kind of keep me sucked in, but. This is a classic. Let's see what the second issue gives us. And like, I didn't quite have that. Oh, yep, I'm hooked. Pulled me right in, but it got me just enough to definitely want to check out the second issue.
Yeah, I can see the potential there with this one, but I also understand like how it's just not quite there. But I will say I did see Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter in movies when that came out. I was in the cinema. I was in college. It was for summer. It was like summer ball, and I remember seeing it. It's quite ridiculous. I might have to go back and rewatch that.
So I never watched the movie, but I read the book.
Oh, you did?
And I did, and I read Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. So
that is also a book.
That is just also a book.
Wow.
And there's a couple others. Like there's a whole run of like these classic titles, like whatever, and zombies and vampires or Vampire Hunter or whatever. And I read Pride, and Prejudice, and Zombies, and I was like, okay, this was fun. That was a fun little read. And I was like, well, I got to read Abraham, Lincoln, the Vampire Slayer. And I think I got halfway through that, and I said, no, I can't do that. I just fucking can't do this. And I never even bothered with the movie.
Yeah, it's pretty out there, but it goes to show like just how good Rodney stuff has been in Philadelphia. We praise it a ton, but it's like that idea has been like there's similar ideas have been done, but not everybody's no one has been able to do it to the level that he has.
No, God, no.
To say the least. But anyways, moving on from Skybound, of course, prints through Image, we got The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 86. And from Boom, we got Ranger Academy issue 6, Ghost Lore issue 9, which I've talked about on the show from friend of the show, Colin Bunn, which also we had him on the show to talk about that. And then, Joe, we got the return of a book you've talked about on the show, Grimm issue 16, which I've been missing this one quite a bit.
Yeah, because I took a look. I think the last issue was out in like November.
Was November? Yeah.
So it's been 5 months or so. So I'm glad to see that back. I was glad to see that in the folder there. So good return, solid return. I think Stephanie Phillips is also going to be at C2E2. So we're going to have to see if we can arrange a chat with her as well, because as my wife so aptly put it, you need to talk to more women creators, and she couldn't be more right.
100%.
We do. So we're going to definitely try it and get that, make that happen if possible, without like, it being, creepy or anything like that.
I'm not even remotely worried about that. I already know my end. She went to Greece right before I went to Greece. So
there you go.
Yeah. Easy conversation started. And I think she's a sports fan too. I think she's a baseball fan. I think so. Yeah. Tweet about it. Yeah. So
let me talk baseball with her. You can sit that one out.
Yeah, I'll sit that one out. I'll let you do all the talking on that one.
Like this guy, he gave up a home run to Jake Cronenworth.
She'll know who that is.
Fucking moonshot.
Everybody else won't even know who that is.
Guy gets called into a game, throws one pitch, boom, home run, gets yanked.
This is totally what the story is. 100%. Yes. Joe is not at all telling fiction. Joe's trying to become a writer now too. Look at this.
I've already told a way better story than you could ever tell. That was fucking phenomenal. The best stuff. Speaking about storytelling, at your wedding, I've said this before, but your grandfather was a man, because we were sitting having breakfast the next day, and all he did was just tell story after story after story about you getting shelled in baseball games.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. He's that was definitely. Yeah. I don't know what
Proud Papa.
Yeah,
Proud Papa.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yes, he's also the same guy who thought when I was like throwing as hard as I was, he's like, I can still catch you. So he's definitely.
I wouldn't put it past him. He could probably could.
Okay. Uh,
I
anyways,
can catch you for Pete's sake.
sure. So where are we now? Oh, we got Dark Horse. Why don't you take us through that?
All right, we have Mortal Terror issue 3, Time Traveler's Tales issue 5, Minor Threats: The Fastest Way Down issue 1. This is written by Patton Oswalt with art by Jordan Blum, and we have Usagi Yojimbo the Crow issue 1, written by Stan Sakai. Excellent issue again. So
Nice.
instead of like doing sort of like, because Stan did when Usagi Yojimbo was over at IDW. And when Usagi Yojimbo was sort of when he was started sort of like telling new stories again and in color for the first time, it was sort of an ongoing thing. It was issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, 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 blah. And what he's been doing lately is he's been writing, these 4, 5 issue arcs and just, but giving them their own sort of, they're like almost like chapters. So instead of just having like 1 through 50 now, it's just like, okay, this is Usagi Yojimbo the Crow issue 1. It'll be 5 issues. This little arc will wrap up, and then he'll tell the next chapter, and it'll just sort of be a continuation. So I kind of like that. That's really cool, and you can read them as standalone things. Like I know because I've been reading all along. This picked up right from where the last the last story ended. But had I not and just was picking this up for the first time, you'd read it. Oh, so it's a brand new adventure for Usagi Yojimbo, and you're not going to be lost about not knowing about his encounters with the Demon J prior to that, right? So it's a continuation, but also its own thing at the same time. If that makes sense.
When that gets executed, it's real. It's really impressive. Like it's because there are plenty of times where it's like we read something, it's like you can read this and you'll be okay if you haven't read it before, or like maybe sometimes it's like, oh, there's a lot of summary being done here to try and help like new readers jump in. And look, I get it, especially with Big Two. I totally get it. But when it's done right, where it's like if you've been around, and if you haven't, you'll start to figure those things out as you go along, but you're fine from the jump. It's just I'm impressed by that. I think that's a very like.
I mean, he's been doing Usagi Yojimbo for 40 years.
For Usagi, it does make a little more sense for him to be able to have that mastery because like that's his guy. But but that action figure you have at your place is still the cooler one you got.
Dope.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of IDW, we got TMNT Sourcebook issue 2. TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures April special. We got Sonic the Hedgehog Fang the Hunter issue 3, and then Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers volume 2 issue 1 by a friend of the show Cullen Bunn and Baldemar Rivas. I enjoyed the first run of this. I don't think Baldemar Rivas was the artist on that one originally. I feel like it was I think it's Freddie Williams. But yeah, so I'll probably check this one out because it was a fun time the first go around, and this is definitely like where we get the MMPR TMNT crossover, and that's Ryan Parrott, and I think that's like top notch. This is like similar in the sense that it's fun. You get to hang out with a property. I'm not a big Godzilla guy, but Mighty Morphin Power Rangers crossing over with anybody that I know, I'm interested in checking that out.
Yeah, I was gonna say real quick, these TMNT source books, I almost bought the first one. I don't know why I didn't. I hemmed and hawed for a few moments. It's a little bit more expensive. It's a thicker book, but it's like everything you want to know about like TMNT characters, backgrounds, origin story. It's almost like an encyclopedia almost. So like if you're a TMNT fan, or you've got a kid who's a TMNT fan, or just a TMNT fan in your life in general, these are great. Absolutely great. And I'm going to pick this one up, and I hope that Newbury Comics still has the first one. I'm going to grab that too. I think it was like, it might have been like $8 or $10 or something like that, but it was like, it's a good size.
I remember seeing it was huge. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And just going, it's almost like a little encyclopedia almost. So fantastic. So definitely worth checking out if you're a TMNT fan.
Cool. Now from AWA, I don't think we have anything from them this week, but from Titan, we got Dark Souls, The Willow King issue 3, Robotech Rick Hunter issue 4, and then Fuma, The Beginning of Her issue 5. No idea what the hell that is. And then from Dynamite, we got Cruella de Vil issue 3, King Kong, The Great War issue 5, and Red Sonja Empire of the Damned issue 1 by Steve Niles and Alessandro I'm Russo. And Joe, that brings us to finally the second week of the Solicit, the second week of the month, April 10th. Let's start off with Marvel as we do.
All right, so we have the Amazing Spider-Man issue 47, Wolverine issue 47, Ultimate X-Men issue 2, Fantastic Four issue 19, The Incredible Hulk issue 11, Darth Vader issue 45, The Invincible Iron Man issue 17, Resurrection of Magneto issue 4, which I need to catch up on. I read the first issue and then like fell off, so I gotta get caught up on that one.
It's what sucks. I want to say one thing about this because we've been talking a lot more X-Men. Obviously, we did the thing on Change My Mind, and just in general, we had stepped away. Like we've read some of the Krakoa stuff, but not like we weren't on top of it like everybody else. I have enjoyed a lot of the stuff, but it does get overwhelming. Like I just want to cut. Like for me, we read so much. We talk about this all the time, and I absolutely love it. It is a privilege to be able to read as much as we do and have access to so many things like ahead of everybody else. But I honestly, like, I wish there are times where, like, fuck, man, like, how am I not on top of the X-Men more? Because we love the X-Men. And I love, and like, a lot of the Krakoa era, I did enjoy what I read. It's just that there's so much freaking stuff to stay on top of that. It's just like, God damn, man. It's so hard to.
It's been my one beef with X-Men since, Hickman first took the reins and we got the start of the Krakoa era, is that you had the main X-Men title, and then you had right off the bat 5 spin-offs. And then from that, it was just like, you can't, like, you literally can't read everything, even though it's not enough time in the day or the week to read everything. And then the same thing now is happening with the end of Krakoa, because you got X-Men mainline, you've got the fall of the House X, you've got Powers of the House of X or whatever it is, you've got the resurrection of Magneto. There's at least 2 or 3 other titles that I'm forgetting, and so trying to keep them all in line is a difficult task. But this is one I definitely need to catch up on.
Yeah, and it's not like, and I don't think either of us are commenting on like the quality of the stories that we're
No,
getting
we
because
just so much of it.
It's a lot, and it's like, and I'm sure there are plenty of people who love X-Men. And it's like, I can't get enough of this guy. Shut the fuck up, and that's great. Like because obviously the Krakoa era lasted quite a while. It was clearly a success. But I just want to say, like, I definitely, when I see an X-Men title like Resurrection Magneto, I'm with you. Like, I fell behind on that, and it's like, what the fuck? And it's like, God, but it's just, I can't, this is where indie comics for us also was like, there's another benefit of like, it's just so much easier to jump in, and you get the same quality of stories too.
And I'm sure there's people out there that just read X-Men. That's all they read.
And go for it. That's great.
Right. And then, it's easy to stay on top, but it's a lot, right? It's a gripe. It's a good gripe. It's a first world problem to have.
Yep.
But it is hard to stay on top of everything. Because this is what amounts to a major event.
Yeah.
Right. And you know how I feel about the events, but at least it's not like, I have to read them all in order for it to make sense.
I think we only did, we would have done a Wolverine title like issue, but you and I both like were on top of Wolverine. But I think we only did 2 titles, right, from the Krakoa era between you and me, and it was both, for me it was X-Men Red and then Immortal X-Men. I think that was it. Oh no, I did the Sinister event too. I did something for that.
Yeah, no events. I just pretty much have been reading the mainline X-Men, but reading some of these because it's the end of an era, right? So I want to be on top of it as much as I can. But enough griping about that. We have Carnage issue 6, X-Men 97 issue 2. As we said with X-Men 97 issue 1, a solid book. Definitely a good companion for the show. This is an excellent series to give someone who's new to X-Men, especially the younger reader, their first taste into that world. Edge of the Spider-Verse issue 3, Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 issue 2, Miss Marvel Mutant Menace issue 2, Weapon X-Men issue 2, Star Wars The High Republic issue 6, Thrawn Alliances issue 4, Aliens What If issue 2.
All right, from DC, we got Action Comics 1064, Green Lantern issue 10, Batman and Robin issue 8, The Batman First Night issue 2, Red Hood, The Hill issue 3, which has been okay early on, just really could use more Red Hood. And I feel like based on the second issue, I feel like we're going to get more, but
DC's got a Red Hood problem.
so
That's
weird.
just plain and simple.
It's honestly a weird complaint for me to have, but it's not an inaccurate complaint for me to have, if that makes sense for everybody. Outsiders issue 6, Suicide Squad Dream Team issue 2, Speed Force issue 6, Sinister Sons issue 3, Batman Dylan Dog issue 3, and Batman Robin and Howard issue 2.
Dylan Dog issue 2.
Oh, of course, my mistake. Sorry, everybody. Sorry to all those Dylan Dog fans out there.
Hey! We don't disparage people.
I don't know who Dylan Dog is, in fairness, but yes, you're correct.
Well,
I was wrong.
That's an ignorance on our part, then.
Very true.
We
we
shouldn't take that out on the person consuming our product, Nicholas.
Now I'm the dunce again. Shit.
Yeah. Well.
That's back.
Anyways, from Image, we have The Scorched issue 28. We have the return of Phantom Road issue 10. I Hate Fairyland issue 13. Napalm Lullaby issue 2. This is a make or break issue for me, right? This was sort of the same high full red coat in the first issue. Like, it did enough at the end to make me want to read the second issue, but we'll see where it goes. We have The Cabinet issue 3, Saint Mercy Godland issue 1, written by John Zor Platten, with art by Attilio Rojo. And then we have a book that I am very intrigued by, Nicholas, and that is Rat City issue 1, written by Erica Schultz, with art by Zay Carlos. Erica Schultz wrote Deadliest Bouquet, which again is a book like I wouldn't typically read. The Deadliest Bouquet, that doesn't sound like it's in my wheelhouse, but read it. It's a sort of a murder mystery kind of spy thriller. And one of the characters was named Violet, who I hope my daughter does not turn out to be like she was. Not great, Bob. But Erica Schultz, an excellent writer. And so Peter Karn is an ex-soldier, an amputee, and a hellspawn in a post-war future. But Peter's not dead like Al. Peter got his spawn powers from the nanites in his prosthetic legs. Nanites that were affected when Al Simmons initiated his necroplasmic detonation in the present. Al had no clue the effects would ripple across not just space, but time as well.
Yeah. So it's part of the Spawn universe. This is an interesting one. And knowing I didn't realize that about Erica Schultz. So that's an interest. That's promising. Like, I remember, did you do Deadliest Bouquet on the show though? I can't remember.
I don't know if I did.
I remember you talking about Violet. I mean, I feel like you did, but I could be misremembering. But I don't want to waste too much time on that. Yeah, I know. I'm there with you. From Skybound, we got Transformers issue 7, and from Boom, we got House of Slaughter issue 22, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers: The Return issue 3, Jim Henson's Labyrinth Achieve Edition issue 1, and then the book that you and I have been waiting to talk about by Tony Fleece and Dave Watcher, Uncanny Valley issue 1. We got an early look at this one, so we don't need to rely on any synopsis here. But when we talked to Tony, I was so far in. I know he told me like a little bit. He said when I reached out, like, oh, we can talk about that a little bit as well with the FOC coming up, yada yada yada. And then we got into it with him, and it was like, damn, like this sounds like a fun story. And right away, Joe starts off on a funny note as we're getting to know Oliver. And what I love about the whole bridge bit, and this is very early, we're not spoiling things. It's like if you know what's going on in the story, like if you've seen the synopsis, this is part of why I don't want to get into any of the synopsis, is like if you've read that, then you know what's going on like right away once it's happened. However, if you haven't read it, it's still like, what the fuck's going on? So like it's a really nice touch. It's really well done.
Yeah, what I love about it is that's cute. Okay, thank you. What I love about it is, Tony has a very distinct art style, right? But he's not drawing it. Dave, is it Watcher or is it Walker? I can't remember.
Watcher.
Watcher. And so there's Dave does something really brilliant in this book in that he has to draw a bunch of different art styles. And one of those art styles is very Tony Fleece-esque, which I loved. And there's, without giving too much away, especially with, with the bridge bit, but like if you've ever watched any Wile E. Coyote, stuff,
Mhm.
there's definitely some Acme-esque vibes to some of the panels here, which I absolutely love because you've got to like what makes this book great is that you want to study every panel because you want to see, if there, any Easter eggs, or just funny things that might be sort of in the background that you might not notice at first glance. And the story itself, like
Yeah.
it's got right some good, some funny, there's some levity to it, but it gets pretty dark pretty quickly, and you're trying to figure out, what's going on. And I'll tell you, this isn't spoiling anything, but like we talked about birds earlier, holy smokes, I got freaked out uh in several panels, especially towards the end there. So but this is a really fun and I say fun in that I know it's gonna continue to be dark and twisted, but there is that it's the same thing with Feral and the same thing with Stray Dogs. There's a fun element to it, but at the same time, you're getting this really, I think, intricate, kind of twisted story,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah, I completely agree, and then on the writing note too, because obviously Dave's art is great, and you're right, like he has to be very versatile here, and we did talk to Tony about that quite a bit, but also like I was, we talked about the bridge thing in the early going, and it's like then they, there's a joke made about that later on, and again, not getting into the specifics of it, but then there's more explanations about like some of the information that we learned in the first few pages. Honestly, Joe, by like page 10, I was blown away by
Yeah,
the detail of Tony's writing. It just brings it around this way and explains this, and like everything was just like in those first 10 pages, I was like, this thing is gonna blow people away. And I don't like I definitely have that with like opening issues. We both do, but it's not often where it's like I'm like, what page am I on? Like this is right here in this moment. I know this thing is just gonna blow everyone away. So yeah, like as you said earlier in this episode, Joe, Uncanny Valley issue 1 has gotten a ton of praise early on, very much warranted.
yeah. You know what? This also there's some elements too. I know you didn't read. Um. Oh shoot, I'm gonna forget the name of the title, but we both read. What's the book that we love from Ethan Parker and the gang there?
Kill Your Darlings.
Kill Your Dogs, yes. And there's another the book that's very similar, but we're dealing with main characters that there's a lot of inner turmoil,
Hmm.
right? And I think Tony is really great at writing those characters. We see that with I believe the main character, this is Oliver. But
Yes.
also even when we're dealing with feral and stray dogs, we're dealing with animals. He's still able to to give them very human emotions and sort of tap into that like Sean Lewis does so well, like Chip does, and Lemire. There's something what feels broken with the main character here that he taps into it really makes you sympathize for him, but we don't know what it is yet. We don't really know anything really about these characters' backgrounds, but you're just so invested right from the get-go.
And Tony does that with Local Man as well too.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Big time. But then, yeah, so Uncanny Valley issue 1, that's going to be coming out very soon. It's going to be the second week of April. But we move on to Dark Horse. What do you got for me there, Joe?
Okay, so from Dark Horse, we have Critical Role, The Tales of Exandria Artigen, issue 3. That's a case of a title that is entirely way too long. We have Count Crowley, Mediocre Midnight Monster Hunter, issue 3. That's long, but that somehow seems better.
Alliteration.
Yeah, I love alliteration. The Assassin's Apprentice 2. issue 5. And then we have Monsters Are My Business and Business is Bloody, issue 1, written by Cullen Bunn with art by Patrick Pizzalunga. Meet Tanner Grisham, along with a shrewd necromancer who wants him dead and a chainsaw-wielding koala bear named Cuddles. In. Right there. I'm not reading anymore. I'm in.
In.
Yep,
100%.
Right there.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we might have to have Cullen back on just to talk about Cuddles.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. Wow, yeah, I'm so in on this. Awesome. Yeah, when I saw Cullen had this, I mean, obviously we see stuff pop up with Cullen all the time, but whenever I see it, specifically when something pops up from him from Dark Horse, I'm like, oh, what do we got going on?
He's got a lot coming out this year.
Yeah,
he's
he
working
does.
on a lot of stuff.
He is a busy man. That is for damn sure. All right. From IDW, we got Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees issue 5, which is an early favorite for Book of the Year, best new book, or possibly most surprising title. I think those are 3 categories.
This could win any number. Maybe our first multiple award winner. But
Ooh.
I think Patrick Horvath, who's a writer, is going to be at C2E2. So that's another one we're going to have to try and get as well.
You may actually have to do a little talking on that one since I haven't read the book yet.
But
so
we're not going to talk to him because I want to talk about it on the show, and I want you to wait.
Oh, that would be, honestly, of all books, that would be amazing if that happened to you, especially so late in the game.
We'll just schedule talking to him after I've talked about it on the show.
Honestly, at this point, it would make more sense to wait for like the trade. In fairness, all right, Earth Divers issue 16, Dark Spaces Dungeon issue 5, TMNT Best of Alapex, D&D The Thief of Many Things issue 1, My Little Pony Apple Bottom Jeans and Boots with the Fur. What the fuck? They took it from you, Joe. My Little Pony Set Your Sail issue 1.
From AWA, we have Little Black Book issue 2. Give it to me. Need it.
We've already read issue 2.
I know, but I want it more. I want more.
You gotta wait so long for the next one.
Oh, issue 2 is so good too.
It was, really good ending. Really good ending. Like the first ending was like it was really well done. But second one is also really well done, but they're very different from one another. And I'm very impressed by both of them. Like
2 of the best ways to end in a book that I can think of in recent.
Very impressive stuff by Jeff McCumsey. From Vault, we got Unnatural Order issue 4, and then Mad Cave. We got the return of Nottingham issue 11. I did not plan that. It was a happy accident on my end talking about it on Mainline. I
Just
didn't
like
realize.
you.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez, don't do that to my mother. A Legacy of Violence issue 12. And then we got a first issue from Mad Cave, When the Blood Has Dried, issue 1. This is by Gary Maloney and Daniel Romero.
All right. Why don't you just take us home, Nicholas?
Sure. Yeah, you get ready for the third week to talk about Marvel because you got a lot to rattle off there. From Titan, we got Star Trek Explorer issue 1 and Nountown issue 2. You know what? I'm setting a rule now because I jotted it down in one of the other weeks. We're not making note of Nountown anymore because I feel like it pops up all the time and it's like the same fucking titles every time. I think this is just League of Comic Geeks waiting for Nountown to come up again. So we're not doing that anymore. New rule.
I'm putting it in every week now.
God, you suck. Dynamite. We got Thundercats. Issue 3, Hercules issue 1, Jennifer Blood Battle Diary issue 5, and Sweetie Candy Vigilante issue 2, which then brings us, Joe, to the 17th of April.
Oh boy. Okay. We have Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 19, Ultimate Black Panther issue 3, Avengers Twilight issue 5, Fall of the House of X issue 4, The Spectacular Spider-Man issue 2, Dead X-Men issue 4, Spider-Boy issue 6.
Wait, time out real quick. It is actually Spectacular Spider-Man, like Joe's saying. Like that's not one where you're fucking around. That's the book that I talked about a little while back on the show. I just want everybody to know.
I should have said Spider-Man on that one. I should have
because I've been waiting for that one to come out, and I didn't like it. I was like, wait a minute, fuck, that's right, that's the one.
Say this Spider-Man. Spider-Boy issue 6, Ghost Rider Final Vengeance issue 2. I am really intrigued for this one because
hell yeah.
I mean, who knows where this series is going? This store is going to go. Spider Woman, issue 6. What If, Venom, issue 3. Captain Marvel, issue 7. Mace Windu, issue 3. Black Widow and Hawkeye, issue 2. Beware the Planet of the Apes, issue 4. And then a couple of first issues. We have Roxxon Presents Thor, issue 1, written by Al Ewing, with art. But what's
Pencils and inks.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
You gotta throw something new in there, Nicholas. You gotta give me a heads up.
Yeah,
For Pete's sake.
that's fair. You're really good with acronyms, so I figured you could figure it out. Pencil
Yeah,
and
but
ink.
just do artists and then just put both their names down.
That's also true. And in fairness, I can't tell you how many times I see a single I by itself, and if it's not like in a normal sentence, I can't help but wonder, is that an L and somebody fucked up?
Yeah, you did.
Like when I do, let me know. If I text, you probably know this. When I text someone, let me know. I do a capital L because it used to fuck me up all the time when I didn't use it normally. I'd see it.
Art by Greg Land and Jay Leistein.
Yes.
And then we have Giant Size Hulk issue 1, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with art by Andrea Ricardo.
Yes, and I do want to note too, for that Thor story, for those that are reading Immortal Thor, this is coming out of those pages. It seems like in just a quick little sentence on that. In his secret identity as AI spokes guru, Chad Hammer, the son of Odin, knows Mama Gaia is a top priority for heroes and for business. So seeing Thor and then like being an AI spokes guru, I just feel like that you have like an interesting story there. And of course, Al Ewing does a great job in general. So just wanted to highlight that for anybody who's interested. From DC, we got Nightwing issue 113, Batman, Superman, World's Finest issue 26, Superman issue 13, Titans issue 10, Wonder Woman issue 8, Catwoman 64, Green Lantern War Journal issue 8, John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America issue 4, Batman Offworld issue 4, and we have 2 more. Jay Garrick, The Flash issue 6, and then Mad 37.
All right. Holy cow. Again, another week. No new issues from DC.
None.
From Image. Yeah, that's wild. Something's got to be cooking. Something's got to be cooking.
Well, we do know that we have heard through the grapevine that we haven't really shared it that a certain imprint could possibly be returning. We've heard. Yep.
Yeah.
We've heard from without saying what, we've heard from from who. We've heard through the grapevine that is happening. So.
Some things we've heard some things. Yep. I mean, still thinking they get new books cooking. Anywho, we digress. Spawn issue 352. Cobra Commander, I believe this is Skybound, actually, issue 4. As is The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 87. You got to get on the ball there, Nicholas.
I just copied and pasted, quite honestly. So, you know what? You're right, though. That's on me. That part.
Yeah. Right, come on. Something Epic issue 9. Moon Man issue 2. The finale of Kill Your Darlings issue 8.
Cannot wait.
Not ready for that. Salmon Twitch Case Files issue 2. Hack Slash Back to School issue 4. And The Weatherman issue 4. And then we have, I hope this wasn't you having a stroke here, Nicholas. A new book from Image that week, 7174AD issue 1, written by T.P. Louise with art by Ashley Wood.
No, it wasn't. I love that you like think I wasn't like having a mental lapse or whatever. But it says from the fevered brain and drawing desk of T.P. Louise and Ashley Wood. Like I just love how you thought that. It's like, yeah, well, no, that's why the title's like that. Fevered brain. So there you go.
Anyway, so there are a couple books from Skybound, but Nicholas just said, yeah, screw it. We'll just take shortcuts.
That was my fault. All right, from Boom, we got Animal Pound issue 3. Under Heist issue 3, and the most important issue 3 of this week, The Displaced issue 3, which is on track for me right now. It's already in the conversation for Book of the Year. Absolutely love this thing. I Heart Skull Crusher issue 2, Lotus Land issue 6, which I did fall behind on that one after I think the second issue. Maybe it was the third. There was one that was like kind of So I'm gonna go back and check that out because I think 6 is the finale. But I know you had allowed me dibs on it. Anyways, speaking of dibs, I'm calling dibs right now. Actually, I marked it down on here so that way you couldn't try and steal from me because I know the doc rule is Boom number 1. Gotta read it, but I'm gonna read it, not you. Blown Away, issue 1 by Zach Thompson. No, I'm not repeating myself for the millionth time. The title is actually called Blown Away. Zach Thompson, and then the artist is Nicola Izzo. Unyielding wildlife photographer Bryn Brodigan, isolated in the remote cold of Baffin Island, sees something she can't unsee. An argument followed by an outburst of intense violence between two nearby climbers.
That looks fantastic.
Did she just witness a murder?
Hate you.
In a frantic search for the truth, Bryn discovers just what she's looking for. But little does she know that more than the silent white of winter is keeping her company.
Oh, that sounds tremendous.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, oh, I want to call dibs on this. I'm like, but I don't want to do that to Joe. It's it's the first one. Oh, but I really want to do it. I went back and forth on it a lot, and I had to do it.
I'm glad it gave you pause at least. That makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
But that sounds fantastic. That's
good.
right in my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
From a Dark Horse, we have Helen of Windhorn, issue 2, Blue Book 1947, issue 3, Quick Stops, volume 2, issue 4, John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, Rise of the Sludge God, issue 2.
That might be the longest one yet.
Just make it Rise of the Sludge God. But I guess the selling point there is John Carpenter and Toxic. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
Star Wars: The High Republic, Saber for Hire, issue 1. This is written by Kevin Scott with art by Rachel Stott.
I will say real quick, I'm actually kind of interested because like I see the character on the cover and it's like she's got a cool look, and then it's like fan favorite Saber for Hire Ty York returns for her most dangerous and personal mission yet. So it's like a fan favorite. Maybe this is something I need to kind of give a look. And Kevin Scott's done quite a bit of Star Wars stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
He has. He's done a lot of the High Republic stuff. So for me, like the High Republic stuff, it's kind of hit or miss because there's been some stories that I've liked, but it's definitely geared towards younger readers.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say this isn't going to be fantastic and knock our socks off. So
Mm-hmm.
Definitely worth checking out. Dudley Datsun and the Forever Machine, issue 1. This is the last of the Skytober books.
Not from Dark Horse still. We still, because yours isn't, Duck and Cover is still not out on Dark Horse, right? That's still only on Comics.
Oh yeah, I guess.
And then the Book of Evil, which I am going to talk about on the show.
Oh yeah, Sheepers, I forgot about the book. Yeah, you're right. You know why? It's just like all these books came out digitally on Comics such a long time ago, and it just we're going on almost 3 years now, right?
Yep.
Since all these were first, announced and stuff, and we know that Comixology just that whole thing was a disaster, which is unfortunate. But anyways, written by Scott Snyder, art by Jamal Igle and Juan Castro.
Yes, and then IDW, we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 150, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's the final issue of the current run, and then we get the Jason Aaron era.
I believe so. Yes.
Yes. Now, obviously, you are I love TMNT, but you are the TMNT guy of the two.
No, TMNT is for the people.
That's
we don't call dibs on TMNT. It's for the people.
You have
said I couldn't do that to you.
That's fair. I appreciate that very much. I am very excited for this new era. Star Trek 19, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Untold Story of the Foot Clan, issue 2, Golgotha, Motor Mountain, issue 2, My Little Pony, Kentucky Roller Derby, issue 3.
From AWA Studios, a book I very much have dibs on. You and I, issue 3.
You and me.
No, Nicholas, never. It can't be. It can't. It just can't be. Never mind.
Oh wow, you're about to break out into song, weren't you? It's the Little Mermaid on this show now.
No. I was whatever. From Vault, I'm gonna rip a couple of these off here.
Yeah.
From Vault, we have Beyond Real issue 3. Did you read the second issue? That's what I meant to put on catching up. I read issue 2.
I didn't. I need to. Yeah. How was it?
Trippy as balls. Yeah. Get on it, Nicholas. I meant to put that on my catching up. From Valiant, we have Bloodshot Unleashed Reloaded, issue 2. From Titan, or Titan, as a normal person would say, we have Blade Runner. Just Blade Runner. I'm Ron Burgundy. Forgotten Ruins, Wizards Cult, issue 4. And from Ablaze, we have Almost Dead, issue 2, The Agent, issue 5, and The Prism, issue 7.
From Dynamite, we got James Bond
Oh,
007
I gotta catch
issue
up on that.
4, Army of Darkness Forever issue 7, Vampirella issue 668, Elvira meets H.P. Lovecraft issue 3, Darkwing Duck Justice Ducks issue 2. Darkwing Duck must be killing it at Dynamite because this is his third title, if I'm not mistaken. We got the regular Darkwing Duck, which I don't know if it's still ongoing, but they had that. There's the Nega Duck storyline, and then there's Justice Ducks. So killing it over there, it seems like for Dynamite, which is cool to see. Gargoyles, which is another one that's been doing really well. They have it. Looks like it's this is a story that's spinning out of the Gargoyles mainline. Gargoyles Quest issue 1. This is by Greg Weisman and Pasquale Quilano. Then we got Comixology Simulation Theory issue 5, Parliament of Rooks issue 5, and then from Mad Cave we got Love Me, a romance story issue 1, and this is written by Francesca Perillo and Stefano Cardicelli. And that brings us, Joe, to the final week of April. Not too bad on time on our end.
No, we're right on time.
The week of the 24th. Take us through Marvel, please.
We have the Ultimate Spider-Man issue 4, the Amazing Spider-Man issue 48, Wolverine issue 48, Daredevil issue 8, the Avengers issue 13, Gods issue 7, Rise of the Powers of the X issue 4, Superior Spider-Man issue 6, Blade issue 10, X-Men Forever issue 2, Spider-Punk Arms Race issue 3, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver issue 3, Wolverine Madripoor Knights issue 3. Madripoor, if you're reading X-Men, very importante. Star Wars Jango Fett issue 2, Jackpot Black Cat issue 2, Predator The Last Hunt issue 3, Night Thrasher issue 3, and then we have a number 1. This is an anthology series. It's the Black, White, and Red series. This is featuring Darth Maul, written by Benjamin Percy with art by Stefano Raphael.
I am so in on this. And what's really cool about this go around too, with all the other Black, White, and Reds, it had previously been like a collection of stories within each issue. So it's like an anthology issue of a larger anthology series. This is more, this is an anthology series where we're getting this one issue and it's one story by Percy and Raphael. Then we're going to get a second issue and that'll be by somebody else. So I am very much in on this. In the quick, like the first sentence synopsis here is Darth Maul stars in his very own horror blockbuster. What else do you need to know?
This is what they should do with the all Black, White, and Red series.
I agree.
Not make the single issue have 3 or 4 stories in them. I get on one hand, it's great exposure for like new and upcoming, creators, but at the same time, like I love the idea, sort of like with the Silver Coin, right, where you either had one writer, or two books of the ilk where you had one writer, and then each issue had a different artist. Or in the case of the Silver Coin, you had the same artist, but different writers for each issue. Yeah. That's the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Give me a 5-issue Darth Maul Black, White, and Red series with a different creative team on each issue.
Yeah. I think with somebody that's so... I think there's room for both personally, because I do like, part of me is like, well, you're spot on about like the other Black, White, and Red stuff we've gotten, where it's like it's a chance for people who haven't worked with the character, may never get to work with the character, people who are like newer to the space. It's like a good like testing ground for new writers or artists. So I do kind of, for obvious reasons, like that. But at the same time, for someone like Darth Maul, who's gotten more stories over the years, but at the same time always seems to be perpetually like underutilized, I think the approach we have here and what you're talking about with this, like the Silver Coin, that kind of thing, where it's this, the same artist all the time, or just like in one individual story, then one individual story from issue to issue. I think for someone like that, it makes a lot more sense. Whereas like for Vader, you could do that, but you can also, what they did can also work.
Yeah. And you can even, there's nothing to say Marvel can't do what DC does with Batman and Detective and Action Comics, where you've got the main story and then you got a B story.
You could absolutely do a backup story and have it be a shorter thing. Yep, 100%. That's probably the best marriage. Like, let Benjamin Percy tell his story, and then and that can be like 20 pages like you want it to be, and then have an 8-pager from somebody who's newer on the scene.
Yeah.
Boom. Look at that. We just solved the issue there. Amazing. All right, DC. We got Detective Comics. Speaking of that, 1084, Green Arrow issue 11, The Flash issue 8, Harley Quinn issue 39, Batman the Brave and the Bold issue 12, Power Girl issue 8, The Penguin issue 9, Batman Dark Age issue 2, and Primer issue 2.
Did we read Batman Dark Age issue 1? Do we know who's writing that?
That was the I believe that's the title, that's like remastering or something to that effect of like an older Batman story from the 30s.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, you might be right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's coming back to me now. All right.
There you go.
I was just I want to make sure I didn't want to miss out on like
That's fair.
a dark, like Tom Taylor's
Sure.
Knights of Steel kind of thing.
Mhm.
From Image, we have World Truth issue 9, Monstrous issue 51, The Six Fingers issue 3, Feral issue 2, The Forged issue 7, The Infernals issue 3. Yes. The Bloody Dozen, A Tale of the Shrouded College issue 5. I have to catch up on this series. Dutch issue 3, Under York issue 2, which we both read the first issue. Again, this second issue is going to, I think,
Yes.
make or break it for both of us. And then there's a number 1 this last week of April from Image, and this one is very interesting. It's Drawing Blood issue 1, written by Kevin Eastman and David Avalone, with art by Ben Bishop and Troy Little. I read this series already. This is why I read this series. I want to say right around when we first started doing the show, maybe even predates TLDR. And I remember it was kind of hard to get. And I don't know if it's just because it didn't sell well or there just wasn't a lot of copies. Because I think there was an issue I was trying to get and I just couldn't get it. But anyways, this is essentially sort of like a fictionalized biography, I feel, of Kevin Eastman and him and his creation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But instead of in this story, it's the writer, and he's come up with a different sort of mutated critter, and the story is about him, creating this world, selling his property, making a ton of money off it, and then like pissing it all away, and gets in,
that, yeah. Wasn't that
right?
was that Kickstarter? Was that what that was originally, you think?
No, because I got them from my
Your shop? Okay.
from my local comic shop, and
Mm.
I'll have to go through my long box and dig them out. But I think I never got the last issue for whatever reason, just because. So it'll be interesting to see if this is the same exact thing and they're just reprinting them, marketing them as new again, and seeing if sales boost now that TMNT, and Eastman, what he's been doing with the last Ronin. But it's their Image, right? So very interested by that.
Yeah. So
it's a book I thought about talking about on the show in the early days.
okay.
It was good.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is so obviously I'll hold off because I like you've already read it and it wouldn't. This is one that I wouldn't have honestly. Like it seemed like the concept seemed interesting, but I also am like I don't know. Like I'm gonna wait and like you will figure out what it is when we get the review copies if it's the same exact thing.
It felt very autobiographical. That's for sure.
Gotcha. From Skybound, of course, through Image, we got Duke issue 5, and then another number 1 coming out of the Image adjacent world that I think I don't know. Are you going to be interested in this? The creative team is Universal Monsters have been good, and the creative team, you're a big fan of their work right now.
Well, I gotta tell you what. Yeah, so the Universal Monsters Dracula by Tynan and Martin Simmons was excellent. Oh, and that's a book I got to talk about on the show. I actually almost did that last week. But this is Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives, issue 1, written by Dan Waters, Rom V, with art by Matthew Roberts. I don't know much about the Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's always one of those like B horror stories, right? Movies, I should say. But I never read the comics, never saw the movies. But I'm going to definitely, check this out. I think what they're doing right now, is sort of like, this is what they tried to do with Tom Cruise, right? The the MonsterVerse, whatever. I can't remember what movie he was. They had this whole plan to make this entire universe with all these monster movies, Dracula and whatnot. And that movie was so bad they just said, "Fuck it."
Yeah, that one I think was The Mummy, if I'm not
The
mistaken.
Mummy, yes. So, but in comic book form, much more palatable, I think. And that, I mean, if right now, right, if it's got Rom V's name on it in any way, shape, or form, it's getting read.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw that it was like the writers on this are the guys who are doing the six hand and the six fingers
Yeah,
in the one hand, like, oh, okay, yeah, Joe's gonna
yeah.
read this. He has
Oh,
to.
100%, right?
Um,
100%.
and I didn't even. That's how good a friend I am. I didn't even think, oh, Joe's gonna love these guys, so I'm gonna steal this on him. I was like, no, like Joe needs to read this. Uh,
Well, it's his
but
first for everything.
yeah. from from Boom, we got Something is Killing the Children, issue 36, which, by the way, I mean to tell you, the missus somehow got it recommended on her Goodreads because like she's logged some of like the comics that she's read on there. So she got it recommended to her. I was like, well, I have it if you want to read it. And she read the first volume and she just, of course, she crushed it because she's, way faster reader than I am. And she absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I can't wait because I'm bringing my. I have the first volume hardcover. I
Ooh,
am bringing that to get signed. Yeah,
nice.
that is fucking happening.
You better bring some protective stuff with like cases or whatever.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know what you've got planned for our weekend away, Nicholas. Come on.
I mean, for your all right, whatever. Anyways, when it gets damaged, don't come crying to me. Uh,
Oh.
Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue 14, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 119. And by the way, make sure you go check out our Instagram page, TLDR_pod, if you haven't already, and subscribe there. We've been getting a ton of quality preview stuff from Boom and been trying to share that with you guys over there. We do a lot of different stuff with different publishers. We do that with AWA as well. But Boom's been sending us a lot, and we got some from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which I feel like either we haven't in a long time or I don't know when we've gotten preview pages from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but we put some of that on there, of course, from friend of the show, Misty Flores, been doing a great job on that. Rare Flavors, issue 5, speaking of Rom V. Man's Best, issue 2. The Expanse, Dragon Tooth, issue 11. Pine and Merrimack, issue 4, which is one of another book that's up for Book of the Year for us early on. Dune, House Carino, issue 2, and Orcs, The Gift, issue 3.
All right. From IDW. Sorry, from Dark Horse. Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
Joseph. Come on. I
you're
can
good.
read. Dawn Runner, issue 2. Star Wars The High Republic Adventures, issue 5. If you find this, I'm already dead, issue 3, which you snaked, you
Yes,
bastard.
I did.
Ghostbusters Back in Town, issue 2. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, issue 3. And then we have a number 1, Operation Sunshine, Already Dead, issue 1, written by Marcus Parks and Henry Zabrowski, with art by David Rubin.
Yes, sir. And now for IDW, we got TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures, issue 12, Swaggin's favorite book. And I also bought that for my nephew, who is Swaggin's age, if I'm not mistaken. Star Trek Defiant, issue 14. The Ministry of Compliance, issue 5, which Joe is reading. Dungeons and Dragons Saturday Morning Adventures, issue 4. And another issue 4, Red Light from AWA, issue 4 of that is out. I know you. What have you been? I know you like this and you and I a lot, both. But I know they're very different stories from one another. But I'm curious, which title are you more excited for between those two this month?
I mean, I'm gonna say you and I because there's still a lot of unknown
Mm,
there, right? Whereas with Red Light, I can see the path that it's going down. Don't get me wrong, I fucking love it. It's excellent. But you and I, there's just something to it that I'm just like, oh, I don't know where it's going.
ooh,
And I just want to eat it up.
that's all. That's always fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always fun. All right, from Vault, we got Slash presents Deathstalker issue 1. And if you're wondering, Slash, who's Slash? It's the Slash, the only Slash that we all fucking know. Slash from Guns N' Roses, written by Slash, Steven Kostansky, and then the most important name that's attached to it is Tim Seeley, because of course he's an outstanding writer. And then the artist on this is Jim Terry. I'm going to be checking this out. I don't know anything about Deathstalker as much as it's a cult classic warrior hero, who's like, first getting on the first time getting on the comic scene. And we've talked about it before. If just because there's someone from outside of comics being attached to a comic title doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be kick ass. It does bring in probably new people. Like I'm sure there are Guns N' Roses fans who are like, oh, Slash did this. Like I'll check it out. But seeing Tim Seeley and Steven Kostransky is a director too. So there's another like interesting creative mind being attached to it. But Tim Seeley's like the big one for me in this. So I'm expecting it to be metal with some Slash influence. So that'll be cool. But I'm gonna check this out. I don't know if you're interested at all.
No, not in the slightest. And I enjoy a good chunk of the Guns N' Roses catalog, but no, I will not be reading that.
Gotcha. Okay, why don't you take us through these last few? I got one more book I want to talk about, but that's at the very end.
Okay, all right. So from Titan, we have Conan the Barbarian, issue 10, The Savage Sword of Conan, issue 2, Noun Town, issue 3.
See?
From Dynamite, we have Red Sonja, issue 10, Fire and Ice, issue 5, Vampirella, Dracula, Rage, issue 6, Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, The Great Hunt, issue 6, and then lastly, Nick, bring us home from a Mad Cave.
So we got Charred Remains issue 5, which I got to catch up on that title. But then we have a first issue that I've been itching to check out, and I've officially called dibs on this one as well. Dick Tracy issue 1. Now, when I first saw the cover for this, I was like, okay, this looks cool. I wasn't certain on who the artist was right away, but it's Geraldo Borges. And if you maybe wonder, you may think that name's familiar. I hope you guys do, because we've talked about No One quite a bit on here. He is the artist on that series. He does an awesome job. And then on top of that, so I was interested in seeing, okay, what's Mad Cave doing with Dick Tracy? We got Geraldo Borges in the mix, and that his art drew me back in without realizing it was him. So those are some great positives there. And then we have an artist team here. Now, Alex Segura, I feel like we've read some of his stuff before, but the real big winner for me here is Michael Morisi. And he is the, oh my God, why am I blanking on his Vault universe right now, Joe? It's Barbaric. He is the creator of Barbaric. So once I saw his name, I was like, oh, I'm in. Like I absolutely am going to check this out. I need to read this. He does an outstanding job. So just a quick little synopsis for those, again, if Barbaric's not ringing a bell, I talked about it on the show a while back. You can go and listen to that episode, and definitely check that out from Vault, especially if you like that high fantasy kind of stuff. But a new era for the iconic detective starts here. From best-selling, oh wait, no, I shouldn't start there. In the aftermath of World War II, the country stands frozen, waiting for the next shoe to drop. In the city, a brutal murder draws the attention of rising star detective Dick Tracy, who soon discovers the bloodshed is just the beginning of a complicated web that threatens to ensnare everything he cares about. Now, I will admit, I'm not like Dick Tracy. Like, obviously, everybody knows the name Dick Tracy, but like, I'm not familiar with Dick Tracy stories really. So this is also like, I am giving this a look because of the two of the three creators on here, and then that's not a knock on Alex Segura. I just can't place him. But seeing those two guys attached is like, okay, familiar, like a name that I know, but not necessarily something that I'm familiar with. But two creators that I like. All right, I'm gonna check this out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, and I hope you like it. Dick Tracy, I think, can be a lot of fun if done right.
There we go. All right, that's good to hear, because I honestly don't know. But Joe, that is it. We managed to keep it under 90 minutes. But yes, as solicits go, we do tend to take a bit of time. But we should be getting back to mainline. But you know what? You never know. So make sure you subscribe to one of our audio channels if you've been watching us on any of our streams. And also, if you've been watching us in any of our, if you've only been listening on our audio channels, you can catch us on our streams too. We don't plug those a ton, but especially on our YouTube channel, we make it easier to get some of our episodes in like cut up portions as well. Sometimes, especially with the books. But I don't want to go any further, Joe, because we need to get going. Until next week, stay sexy.
I didn't rig shit.